snowstorms continue to sweep across the USA.
2,100 miles of warnings. We've got either winter storm warnings, winter weather advisories, or ice storm warnings.
Madagascar braces for another intense cyclone.
There'll be the really strong winds along the coastline and then very heavy rain, which will persist right through the weekend.
And just how reliable is Punxsutawney Phil?
Phil did see his shadow this Groundhog Day, and we are looking at 6 more weeks of winter, and there are signs of more winter storms coming, so it's not great.
It's Friday the 4th of February, and you're listening to Weathersnap from the Met Office. Hello, I'm Clare Nasir, and this is Weathersnap, an insider's guide to the week's weather headlines. Last weekend's nor'easter brought chaos to parts of North America, as heavy snow and icy winds caused power outages, transport disruption, and coastal flooding. Now, new snow warnings have been issued. To find out the latest situation, I spoke to Alex Wilson, meteorologist at the US Weather Channel.
This storm has been a totally different beast because what we've really got is a cold front that's been providing freezing rain, sleet, and heavy snow. So we've seen all types of wintry weather.
It's a bit overwhelming, actually, because pretty much a third of the country is under some sort of warning at the moment.
What did we get? A 2-day break. The one positive maybe about this storm is that some of the areas that were hit hardest with the last storm, like Boston, they got a bit of a break out of this one. They're still going to see some wintry weather. I think they could still get a little freezing rain, a quick shot of snow, but mostly rain at the onset of this. But you mentioned about a third of the country, 2,100 miles of warning. So all the way from New England down in the Southern Plains. So Texas to Maine, we've got either winter storm warnings, winter weather advisories, or ice storm warnings. And unfortunately, even today, we're really starting to see those power outage numbers go up into parts of, say, Tennessee and Kentucky, where that ice is accumulating. And it just becomes way too much for tree branches and, of course, for power lines.
So would you say the ice is the biggest risk?
Yeah, snow is one, it's a beast, obviously. It makes travel difficult, but ice makes travel impossible. That's the way I always look at it. I mean, it doesn't take much ice to make those roads an absolute mess. So we're already looking at some areas exceeding a quarter inch of ice. And again, you can't keep power lines up. So it can take days, even weeks to get all that restored.
So how low is it going to go over the next 24 hours or so? I've noticed the air is really digging in from the north and penetrating further south as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, temperatures right now, it's low 20s in Dallas with feels like temperatures in the teens. So, I mean, we're looking at temperatures well below average, staying that way from parts of the plain states into the Northeast. So, I mean, places are going to be really cold once this front fully slides through. So I think that's also what people are forgetting. They're like, oh, okay, we'll get through the snow and then we'll get back to normal, or we'll get through the freezing rain and we'll get back to normal. But even though the precip ends, once this front moves through, this Arctic high is sticking with us.
Alex Wilson. Rescue efforts are continuing in Madagascar, Mozambique and Malawi following widespread flooding caused by Tropical Storm Anna. Madagascar is now braced for yet another storm, this time Cyclone Batsurai, an intense cyclone that is set to directly strike the island over the weekend. With more details, here's Met Office tropical prediction scientist Julian Hemming.
We expect actual landfall over Madagascar, probably UK time around midday on Saturday. We're already seeing some impacts. There's been some heavy rain over the island of La Réunion, and we expect the rainfall to reach Madagascar on Friday, but then the full force to be felt on Saturday, when there'll be the really strong winds along the coastline and then very heavy rain, which will persist right through the weekend.
Now, Madagascar, despite the fact we are in their wet season at the moment, they've had some really dry spell, and a dry spell which will prove a problem when we see this amount of rain.
Yes, certainly the southern half of Madagascar has been fairly dry, and that can lead to ground conditions, which mean that when you get very intense rain, large amounts of rain over a small period of time, then it can run off very easily. And so you can get some severe flash flooding in those circumstances. And that's what we think might be an issue with Cyclone Batsurai.
This region of the world has cyclones at this time of year, but it seems to be the frequency and the intensity which is causing so many problems for Madagascar and obviously the surrounding area. When do you think this storm will clear, and where's it going next?
Well, it'll pass across Madagascar during Saturday and Sunday and then move out into the Mozambique Channel. Now, a day or two ago, we were concerned that it would continue moving west or southwest and actually hit Mozambique on mainland Africa and cause some problems there. Now, recently, the computer models which we look at have tended to back off from that and are suggesting that the cyclone will turn southwards and so stay out over the Indian Ocean.
And finally, Julian, how can we stay up to date with the situation across this part of the world?
Well, in the Met Office, we have a Twitter feed which is dedicated to reporting on tropical cyclones, and we've been updating that regularly with information on Cyclone Batsurai. So that includes latest imagery and also information on the forecast track from the official warning centre in that region. So that's one way in which you can keep up to date with what's going on with this cyclone.
That's brilliant. So that's Met Office storms.
Julian Hemming. Back to the UK, and with the outlook for the next few days, Alex Deacon.
It will be windy again this weekend, and the strong winds across the UK through both Saturday and Sunday will bring ever-changing cloudscapes too. Colder air arrives across the country during Friday, and that'll still be in place on Saturday morning across the south. So a chilly start here. But we're going to see milder air arriving through the night across the north, which will bring cloud and rain. But as it hits the colder air, it could bring some snow for a time across Scotland on Saturday morning, mostly over the hills, and it shouldn't last too long. However, it will stay pretty grey across much of central, southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, northern England through the day on Saturday, and increasingly we'll see some outbreaks of rain and drizzle move in across Wales. Also, quite misty and murky conditions in this zone. Southern and eastern England, mostly dry and bright on Saturday, but it will steadily cloud over here as well. It will be windy, but it will be milder than Friday. Temperatures ticking up to 8 to maybe 10 Celsius, but don't forget it will be windy, so it won't feel particularly mild. And by Saturday evening, the colder air is set to return across northern Scotland, so the showers here turning wintry once more, with snow even to lower levels through Saturday night and into Sunday morning. That could bring some icy conditions. A weather front slipping south through Saturday night will bring a different feel across southern England and Wales. Outbreaks of rain and drizzle through Sunday here. Some uncertainty about whether that's going to clear through or not, but at the moment it looks like much of the south will stay pretty dank on Sunday. Across the north it'll be brighter with sunshine and showers, but as I said, those showers will turn wintry, chiefly over the hills across western Scotland. A blustery day again on Sunday, again western Scotland bearing the brunt of the strongest winds. Chopping and changing, lots going on with the weather this weekend, so make sure you keep up to date and follow the Met Office across social media.
We heard earlier how snow has caused disruption in the USA, no doubt leaving many to ponder how much longer they'll have to contend with wintry conditions. Well, one state has consulted its own weather guru. Punxsutawney Phil made his annual appearance at Pennsylvania's Groundhog Day on Wednesday. The furry forecaster, made famous in the 1993 film of the same name, apparently predicting more snow to come. So, exactly how accurate are Phil's predictions? Kirsty McCabe of the Royal Meteorological Society has been weighing up the evidence.
So 2nd of February, quite famously now known around the world, is Groundhog Day, and it's a local tradition that started in Europe off the back of a feast called Candlemas. Now that marked the midpoint of winter, and there were traditions in Europe which involved, I think, badgers coming out of hibernation and using them as a sign as to whether or not we were going to see another 6 weeks of winter. And there was a rhyme back then: if Candlemas Day be fair and bright, winter will have another fight. If Candlemas Day brings cloud and rain, winter won't come again. And that tradition that started in Europe made its way over the pond, and now in North America it's become quite a big thing with Groundhog Day, especially in the town of Gobbler's Knob, where Punxsutawney Phil is the groundhog most famous for going out, and it all depends on whether or not he sees his shadow. And the logic is that if the groundhog sees his shadow, which means it'll be a lovely sunny day, another 6 weeks of winter coming, because that's the kind of setup for the weather pattern that heralds more cold and wintry weather. But if it's a cloudy, overcast day, that actually means that spring is on its way and winter isn't going to continue.
First of all, I mean, I've never heard of Gobbler's Knob, but obviously I think that this groundhog is probably the most famous living thing to come out of this village. And I presume that, I don't know what the lifespan is of a groundhog, but
there may be more than one.
Yes, since its beginning. I mean, when did this ceremony start?
I think Phil's been making predictions since 1887. Not the same groundhog, otherwise he's breaking all kinds of records for longevity.
What's the chances of the groundhog actually getting it right?
He is not that great. In the past 10 years, Phil's been right 40% of the time. Unfortunately, Phil did see his shadow this Groundhog Day, and we are looking at 6 more weeks of winter, and there are signs of more winter storms coming, so it's not great at the moment. Let's hope he's wrong and that maybe it's only 1 more week of winter and then we can see some spring.
Kirsty McCabe, you're always a font of knowledge. Thank you very much for your time today.
Oh, lovely to speak to you. Thank you, Claire.
Kirsty McCabe, editor of Met Matters at the Royal Meteorological Society. And for more on this, go to the website rmet.org/Met Matters. Well, here with a recurring look at last week's highs and lows, it's Martin Bowles.
Here are the weather extremes for last week, measured between Monday the 24th of January and Sunday the 30th of January. The highest temperature of the week was 14.9 Celsius at Santon Downham in Sussex on Saturday. The lowest temperature was -5.0 Celsius at Ravensworth in North Yorkshire in the early hours of Tuesday morning. As Storm Malik swept through Scotland and northern England on Saturday, 52.0 millimetres of rain was measured at Castley in Sutherland. Malik also led to the highest wind gust of the week. 93 miles an hour was recorded at Brisley Wood in Northumberland. The sunniest place was Shoebury Ness in Essex, where 8.2 hours of sunshine was recorded on Sunday.
Thanks, Martin. Just before we go, you may want to check out the latest edition of our sister series, Mostly Climate. Graham Madge talks to Dr. Rosie Oakes about his conversations and experiences at COP26 and how the climate promises made may translate into action. That episode is available on our SoundCloud channel and the Met Office Learn About Weather channel. That's it for Weathersnap. I'm Clare Nasir and editor is Adrian Holloway.
Weathersnap is a podcast by the UK Met Office. For the latest weather conditions where you are, download the Met Office weather app.